Welcome back to a new video. So this is, this has my sessions from Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I actually didn't do much of any training on Thursday. Decided not to go out to the shed to do any pulling or anything because I wanted to set myself up for Friday, and I hadn't really taken a day off in a while. So I figured it would be a good time to just do light stuff, and mostly just did some band work for the shoulders, for the triceps, a little bit biceps. Nothing really that noteworthy, just a little bit of movement, just to do something. But it's funny because even on a day if I don't train, like I'm still getting probably like 10,000 steps. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's slightly more, but like I basically get 10,000 steps a day at school. So even on days where during the week if I don't train, I'm usually more active than the average person, which is interesting. But the interesting part of that, as far as like body weight fluctuations, is sometimes my body weight can jump up or move around in weird ways. So at one point in this week, and I feel like it was Friday, maybe it was Friday morning, but it could have been Wednesday morning, I forget which day it was, before one of these heavy sessions, before I went to work, I weighed myself and I was 232, and later at night I was up to like 239. And that was not me doing, it wasn't like I had Papa John's or, it was just a normal day of living, and drastically, added weight. And being down all the way to 232 was really weird because I hadn't weighed that low in a while. And I don't know why that was, because even like this morning on Sunday when I weighed myself, I was back to what I was normally. So I don't know if I was just randomly dehydrated in the morning. But that is something that I like to pay attention to. And even though I don't really necessarily care if I gain or lose weight at this point, it is something that is, I think, important to track for everyone, just so you can pay attention if you do have fluctuations, if you are, consistently losing or gaining weight, to kind of know how to react as far as the general food that you're eating. So obviously when I had weighed 232, I definitely, locked in to make sure that I was eating enough. And really I had been. That's what I think was the odd part to me. It wasn't as if, I was like, oh yeah, I just haven't been eating a lot. I don't know. I've got lunch meat. So I don't know if the lunch meat just doesn't have a lot of calories, but I feel like, I'm putting enough of it on there to where I'm getting a good amount. So I don't really know what that was about, but that was certainly an aberration. And sometimes that also happens with body weight. Like you'll have a day that's, randomly really high or low. And I think that's also made more exaggerated by the fact that I weigh 235 most of the time, plus or minus a couple pounds, and so a percentage or two in either direction can be several pounds of weight, which is weird to think about. But just because I'm a larger human, I'm just going to retain more water, and that's mostly what it is. It's just water weight fluctuating up or down, and it's something that if I'm doing everything correct, I don't generally have like a randomly really low body weight day. But if I like forget to have creatine, or I didn't eat a lot, and then, combine those things, it can be pretty dramatic, and it's kind of hilarious. So not cutting down to the, what will be a 98 weight class. I'm going to kind of just stay where I'm at and just kind of train in what is most likely a caloric surplus. I haven't tracked calories in a while, but, my body weight generally has been, steady, so I'm at least at maintenance, but probably in a little bit of a surplus, because you could I don't know, at least I feel like I am. I don't ever feel like I'm hungry or whatever, and training's going well, so I'm not worried about adapting for that. So I guess I'll technically just be a 110 lifter. But dropping down to 98, I think that's like 215 in pounds. It's a pretty big drop, and I would certainly lose some strength, and I don't really want to go that low at this point. If they had a class that was like 105, I would definitely just go down to there. 102 was like something that was kind of within range, but I'm not really interested in cutting weight really at this point, because like the only reason to cut weight is just to pretend like my lifts matter more if I weigh 98 kilos versus 107. And to be frank, they don't. They only matter to myself, and if I can be heavier and get stronger, that's going to feel better than if I'm lighter and say, well, I did this at this body weight. Like I've never been that kind of person with my lifts. I've never really necessarily cared what I've weighed in that sense, to where it's like, well, I did this weight at this weight. I've always been in a surplus for the most part. The last time that I intentionally cut was when I was in my first year of teaching, and I was doing an online powerlifting meet, and I cut down to 180 pounds, so it was like 80 kilos or whatever. And then as soon as I started teaching, I was up to 190 pounds because it was, an artificially low weight. And then really since that point, I've just been gaining weight all the way back up. And I think even before that point, like I had been above 200 or at least close to 200. And so I had tried to cut down to, I guess, all the way down to the 180. The 180 was more like trying to water cut or whatever. I forget what I tried exactly to do, but that was certainly like an artificially low weight for that day. But then there wasn't really a point for me to ever cut like that. Like there's only reason to cut, I suppose, is to be at a certain body weight or to have a certain physique. And thankfully I have like reverse body dysmorphia where I don't really care what I look like, but I have like, I think a pretty decent, like I look like I lift. I'm not hyper lean, of course, being at the body weight that I'm at, but I don't want to, look sloppy or anything like that. But I also just don't really care if I am super lean or whatever with that. And I don't know, it's thankfully I like the way I look, so I don't really worry about cutting and like trying to get more lean or anything like that. But I think that's just something that's unique to myself. I certainly feel like people have that pressure to, look a certain way. I look dumb, as you can see here, with my Christmas mood sweatshirt. And so I've always been fine looking, however, because really it's fun to be strong more than it is to look like you're strong, at least in my opinion. And you can kind of do a little bit of both if you eat well. I think that's kind of a misconception, is that you either can look like a bodybuilder or you look like, Andre Romanow. You can certainly be kind of in the middle. I don't think you can be like, 5% body fat and be a really high performing athlete unless you're on just ungodly amounts of supplements. But if you are just a normal person, you're just in a caloric surplus for the most part, and you're doing enough volume and you're trying to do everything that you can to get stronger, you should just kind of build muscle. And I think some of that is obviously genetics. Like I think a lot of the reason that my body weight is dispersed in a way that, at least to myself, is aesthetically acceptable, I suppose is the way I want to say it. Like I don't have weird fat deposits in weird places and that make me look weird, in my opinion. I think I'm pretty symmetrical, and I don't necessarily think that's anything that I've done particularly intentionally, as far as, I'm not like bodybuilding or anything like that. I think that's where like the genetics come in quite well, because, being 5'11", and just having a wider frame, I definitely always knew that I could add more body weight, even when I was, 17, 18. I still actually remember my dad saying that I could weigh, he's like, you can definitely weigh 200 pounds and, be a healthy body weight. And that certainly, I mean, if you imagine me losing like 35 pounds at this point, like, yeah, that's a lot of weight to lose. But it's, I'd obviously have to lose some muscle to go that low. Here's the 125 on Friday that I was able to do. So the 1+2, almost missed on the first one, but I didn't want to let it go for sure, because, that first overhead squat was pretty easy. But clean jerks didn't go as well on this day. I tried 155 twice, kind of. I cleaned it a third time, but Clark's the jerk, just because I was losing air or got a little dizzy on that, which is what it is. But this push press, decently easy. I took lighter jumps in the snatch and in the clean jerk on this day to allow myself to lift heavier in the snatch and clean jerk. Was decent. I don't know, my jerk technique just looks weird. It's just stuff I have to think about with my leg drive that I want to kind of develop. Like, it just looks off, and I don't know if it's the technique of it or if it's just the aesthetics of it, but it just doesn't look very powerful, and I want it to look powerful. So it'll be something that I'll be looking at to maybe adjust some things, maybe have my feet a little bit wider, maybe just, I don't know, there's stuff I want to play around with that, and it's tricky because it's very dependent on how strong my legs are, how well you do a clean in general. So like, I could have a really good jerk attempt, but if I don't have any energy because I had to double bounce a clean, or my legs aren't particularly strong at that particular moment, then it doesn't matter what the technique is for me, because the jerk will always be limited by that. but definitely got some room to improve there. But it's also one of those things that when I'm in like, the kind of training I'm in now, like doing volume and stuff, I'm not going to have the best clean and jerk. I can tend to have some good snatching really whenever, if I have good technique and, I'm moving consistently. But when I'm doing a lot of lifting, clean jerks tend to, I don't tend to be able to get up to 100% or whatever. Snatching, sometimes I can. And this is 175, so I decided to just try a heavy double. And then the first rep was okay, but you can kind of see the front rack. I kind of lost out on the first one. And then second one was more just because might as well try it to see what happens. I kind of knew like it wasn't going to happen, but I wasn't going to do volume, so I didn't mind failing it. This is 270, I believe, so you can see like pretty routine here. And then this is a crazy big PR. So my best, I did a couple weeks ago or whatever in Thanksgiving, where I did 306, and I had been thinking for a couple weeks prior to that of doing 300 for a double. And you see here, this is 300 for a double. And for some reason, my crazy self thought maybe I could do it for a triple, which obviously would have been a triple PR by quite a lot. I don't know what my best triple is prior, but certainly nowhere near 300. And my best double, I think, was like 290 or 295 prior to that. I'd have to look back, but certainly 300 is massive with that. So that tells me I could probably deadlift 310 right now. And I looked, it was at like 318 at 700 pounds. So it's kind of weird. Like I still don't understand how my deadlift continues to improve. And it's not that I necessarily get mad, like, wow, it's kind of fun to do still, but it doesn't make any sense because I don't really do any deadlift training. I just do weightlifting and strength work. So it just shows that, if you get a strong squat, if you're built for deadlifts, you will just get a better deadlift. And I suppose because my legs are the weak point of me relative, obviously my back is, strong. The fact that I can get up to, more and more weight in the deadlift is just means that I'm working on my weaknesses with weightlifting. So I guess I'll never snatch 140, but I'll deadlift 800 pounds. And that will be the end of my lifting career. At that end point, my snatch won't go up, but my deadlift will just continually go up. But 700 pounds would be pretty cool. I think now I'm kind of, my current best is 675. And it's just like saying these numbers out loud, like they don't really make sense that I was able to do it. Because for so many years you try to increase your deadlift, and then 600 pounds was such a crazy big number, and then randomly doing the 665 I did years ago, it's like that was such a crazy number to think that I did a 302 kilo deadlift, and then I it didn't improve for a little while, and now it's just been kind of on an interesting tear. And I don't know, I suppose I try to think in kilos with it, and it's not as overwhelming, but 310 seems possible the next time I really want to, go crazy at it. And now I just kind of have to think about the jumps that I build up to it. Because, as you see with the deadlifts that I did today, like I take big jumps, and I don't think that's necessarily something that I'd recommend for everyone, but it does save a lot of energy. And because I don't quote unquote care about my deadlift, it doesn't really matter if I get up to that, take a big jump and miss it. Like it's just a deadlift. But I also use straps, so that helps a lot. If I didn't use straps, for my deadlifts, obviously I would have to take smaller jumps, but I can strap all my deadlifts because I'm a weightlifter and I don't plan on doing a powerlifting meet. I did this session Saturday. It was really late at night. I think I got to the gym at like 9, and I knew I wanted to train. It was kind of a weird feeling. I just didn't really feel like going any earlier. Just kind of waited a while. I spent a lot of the morning trying to fix my car. The rocker arm is messed up, which I was trying to fix and put that together, and had some issues with the screw on the battery that fell off, and I had to figure out getting that to work. So I was dealing with that during the day, and because it's Christmas time, there was a lot of traffic when I was going out to try to get a screw or a nut that I needed, which was kind of obnoxious, but can't do anything about that. But I did order the new piece. So I have a 2015 Malibu, and on the back of the oil there is a piece called a rocker arm, and I think that piece is messed up, or at least that's where I'm getting the error message. It says one of the rocker arm is stuck off or whatever. So I figured out on this Saturday how to get into that piece and take it off. I just put it back on, hoping that would clear the error that I'm getting, because now I'm starting to get random misfires, and so that's kind of, I don't think, good. But I'm not really too stressed about my car. because I have the ability, if I wanted to go and, you know, finance a car, if I wanted to get a new one right now. I just want it to kind of last another 2 years so I can get all of my grad school stuff done and, you know, have just more saved up in general. But if I, like, you know, if it broke down on Tuesday and I had to go get a new car or whatever, I could. I think probably in the short term, I probably would honestly just do a lease. But also, like, I have the ability to do that. So I don't know. I want it to last like 2 more years and then I'm fine with it. Hopefully the piece I get once I replace that clears that code, because other than that, like, it's been fine. And I thought it was like an issue with the battery for a while. Once I replaced the battery, that was still coming on. So hopefully that all works itself out. But if it doesn't and the car breaks down, then we'll just get a new Toyota Camry or something. I don't know. And I suppose I'll end with this note here, because I was looking at getting a Toyota Camry at some point, whether it's, you know, this current year or 2 years from now or whatever. But I'm open to recommendations. So if you made it to this point, it means you're a dedicated viewer and I really appreciate you. But if you have recommendations for a car, and I don't care about performance, not really about looks, but I would prefer one that, you know, looks decent. That's why I'm looking at a Camry and not just a Corolla or something like that. But like a good, like, everyday driving car that doesn't, you know, is dependable. So if you have recommendations about that, I would appreciate it, because to me, I'm looking at the Camry, but I wouldn't be opposed to going to a different brand or a different type of car, or anything really. I don't really have an interest in like a trucks or anything like that. Just something that gets me from point A to point B in an efficient way, and that I can drive for the next, you know, 10, 15 years or whatever. But anywho, that's it for this one. If you made it to this point, I appreciate you. And if you made it to any point, I appreciate you as well. And I'll talk to you all to the next one. Have a great one. Peace.